Hi, my name is Sherry Gideons. I'm a spiritual teacher, transformational speaker, success mentor, and author. And I wanted to come on today and talk to you a few minutes about what does it take to get better and to achieve greatness. Well, I like to start out by saying greatness, it's not a status, it's an attitude. Just like somebody asked me the other day, they're like, well, how old are you? And I said, well, I'm actually 55 years old, but I believe that age is an attitude. And the same thing applies to greatness. You see, greatness isn't one particular thing that you achieve. What it is it's consistency with which you maintain momentum and you head towards your goal. I started out in the pro bodybuilding industry in the 80s. And I started out in Europe at first, and I started to compete on the Army powerlifting team. And at the time, I was what you would consider somewhat overweight. But at the time, I set an intention and I decided that I wanted to compete in an industry that was really getting big and it was getting its start. And so I started competing all over Germany and winning, different bodybuilding contests and different powerlifting contests. And as I started to get clearer and clearer about my goals in the industry, I started to decide that I wanted to actually have more muscle that you could see, more chiseled muscle. And so I started to get clearer and clearer of these goals that brought more happiness, more excitement into my life. And it brought more joy about wanting to achieve something for myself. And I realized over time what happened is I began to measure my focus by getting clearer and more specific of the details. And so you see, greatness is different for all of us. And it's magnified by the speed and the consistency that each of us takes in our own lives. So when it comes to the mistakes, trust me, I've made my own mistakes. I'm human as we all are. But you see, what happens is we move faster and we acquire more momentum with our dreams when we stop letting other people tell us who we are. When we start realizing that it's when we make the mistakes, we grow and we achieve a lot faster because we're releasing those old ways of behaving, the old habits of beating up on ourselves, which limits us and stops us from actually getting to what it is we actually want to achieve. And if you look back on so many people who've been great or what we would consider great, throughout history, you know, great men, they usually achieve greatness, but they've been through lots of mistakes first. And so when it comes to achieving particular levels of greatness in yourself, we first got to let go of the ego because the ego is extremely cunning. And it's the part of ourselves that wants to tell us, we're not good enough or we're not perfect enough or why did you do that? And what was wrong with you? And you start listening to that voice inside your head that starts to limit you from really staying on target and staying on focus. And how we get better is as we start to live more in today. Now, we had Ken Walls on our show last night, and something that was so significant about what he was sharing with all of us was around his 18 years sobriety from alcoholism. And he started talking about how, his old behavior and the person that he was before he got sober, and how many times he would have been a pit bull, ready to bite somebody's head off or ready to engage. And when he was under the influence of alcohol, watch out. But what happened is he got to a point in his life where somebody sat him down and somebody said something to him that made him realize that he needed to change, and that he was either going to continue living the life he kept living, which was a lot of nights where, he didn't remember. He was drinking so much alcohol that, he was losing friends, and situations were occurring. And I'm sure some of that has happened with a lot of us. Actually, I'm sure it has happened with all of us at some point with something. And so let's face it, down deep inside of ourselves, there comes a point where something happens in our lives and we realize, you know what? We all deserve greatness and we have to at least try. And I'd like to talk about, from my career, if you think back on the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the things I remember most about that era, because I came from that time when Arnold Schwarzenegger was getting really big and, people were starting to get to know him more. He started to be an actor in several different movies. And at the time, people said, "Oh, those are low budget films, low budget movies." And I remember the movie Conan, and he was being interviewed by a guy by the name of Steve Chandler. And this guy said to him, "So, Arnold," he says, you know, um, you've had a couple of flops in your movies. And, people have made fun of you. And, what do you think about that? And he says, "I don't care." He says, "You know what it is?" He says, "You create a vision and you live in the picture as if it has already happened. You think from the place that something is already so, and you be from that each day." And so he said that he was focused and determined, when he first came here from Austria to the United States, to be a great bodybuilder. And that he used to break into a local gym when it was closed so that he could train, because his goal was to be the best bodybuilder in the world. And he said that he ended up sneaking out to participate in the junior Mr. Europe bodybuilding contest in Germany. And that's what he actually ended up winning. But what ended up happening is he said that he never stopped thinking of how to improve his performance as a bodybuilder. And he says it was his determination, his continued focus and determination, that would take him on to win. But not only just win, he would become the top bodybuilder. Not only the top bodybuilder, but he would win the Mr. Olympia, the biggest contest in our organization, 7 times. And so he said what it was is he had intense dedication on what he wanted, but he would think about it from the place that it was already so. He would see himself on stage and he would be, smiling with this big, huge smile. He said he would see every muscle and its contour and its shape and its size. He would see himself flexing and posing in his imagination every single day. He would do it when he was working out, he would do it when he was eating, and he would do it over and over. And, there's another story that I remember from my era in which, another guy talked about this same kind of principle that Arnold Schwarzenegger talked about. And it was Muhammad Ali. And I remember an interview once, and Muhammad Ali said, somebody, actually, I think it was somebody, a reporter had asked him how many sit-ups he could do. And he says, "I don't know." He says, "But I only start counting when it starts hurting." He says, "I just keep seeing what I want to acquire." And he says, "And I just keep seeing myself reach that greatness. I don't let the people around me limit me and stop me from thinking what I want. I don't let the doomsayers say that my dreams are too big. He says, I keep considering myself the greatest boxer in the world. And it reminds me of myself too. When I was in the pro bodybuilding world, I would, for months before I would do a show, I would see myself standing on the stage with, like at different times, a green bikini with all of the stones and all of the color, and it was bold and vibrant, and it was like standing out on stage, and I could see myself posing, and I could see myself holding the trophy. And it was the same thing that a guy like Muhammad Ali. He's saying, do you want to call this Voice America, Eric? But it was the same thing that Muhammad Ali and Arnold Schwarzenegger are talking about. For months and months, I would see myself acquiring the trophy as if it were already true. When I was going through the different stages of eating and having to scientifically eat at certain times throughout the day, I'd push past the limits, and I kept seeing myself getting better and better. I kept focusing myself completely on reaching greatness within myself and getting better and better and better. And that's how it's available to every single one of us. And I just wanted to share a couple principles that really apply to how we all can get better and better each day. And so it starts with dedication. It starts with deciding what is it that you want. And it is about moving forward in today. It's about practicing as much as you can on keeping your focus on the feeling of what feels good and what comes naturally from you. What allows you just to be you? What allows you to play in the field of your own genius without having to compete with somebody, without having to worry about what somebody else is doing or what somebody else's gifts are, but to practice on just being you and on the clear focus of what you want. Now, one of the things you hear all the time, and there was a point where I was just like, why is it that so many people say we have to hustle? That in order to reach success, we have to hustle. And I believe it's completely different than that. I believe we don't have to work our butts off to achieve the greatness that we truly deserve. I believe that it requires working smarter, not harder. And what does that mean? Working smarter is, like I said, understanding that the clearer you are, you're creating a vibration, you're creating a feeling, you're creating an intensity inside yourself that is actually more powerful, and it levels up your abilities because everything in the universe is energy. It is a vibration. It is a vibration that turns into a frequency and actually expands out into the universe. And everything that is like what you're being from in here is being pulled back into your experiences because it's a part of you. It's a reflection in you. And so when you start to develop that skill inside yourself, that belief, what's happening is you're up leveling yourself. You're taking yourself to the next level, and you are creating these natural abilities that you've always had. They've always been there. They might have been unconscious to you, they might have been dormant, but I'm here right now to tell you or to plant a seed within you that that is there. And the more you set an intention and get clear about what you want, and you start to begin to work smarter from the inside of you, you're going to pull people to you, opportunities to you, and success to you that you may have never ever experienced before. It's always been there available to you. You just haven't experienced it until now. And here I am planting the seeds of what's possible. And, sometimes we think this is airy fairy thinking, and sometimes we think it's woo woo. But the more you grow in here, the more you connect in here with your heart and pull that energy up, keep pulling that energy up. What's going to happen is you're going to start to attract people into your life that are going to have easier, simpler, greater, grander ways to help you apply certain things in your life that get you to where you want to go. I'm part of an amazing mastermind group right now. It's called Habitu Warrior Mastermind Group. And this mastermind group is filled with amazing people. And the cool thing about it is we get to stand on the shoulders of each other. There's so many things that I haven't done, and they're not my zone of genius. But the amazing part about the talents and the genius and the successes of each of these people is that we share with each other. We share the resources, the talents, and the avenues to help us get there quicker and faster, smarter. And so another principle I wanted to share with you is, how do we measure things? And we can measure it by telling how, by telling how we're doing, and we can measure it by what's showing up that's wrong. And so what you really need to become is the observer. What's working faster? What's working better? What's causing more to show up for you quicker? And what's not, and become the observer of what's not, and don't emotionally attach to what's not. Observe it and look at it and recognize that it's showing you where you can shift. It's showing you where you can make a couple turns and twists here and there, or you can attract somebody into your life that will help you reach up faster, like what I have in this mastermind group. And it's like bodybuilding that I was just talking about. It's like strengthening that muscle inside you. Because what happens when we start to take baby steps and we start to grow on the inside of us? We start to gain muscle. And it's that muscle that gets stronger and stronger and stronger, to where you stop thinking in a direction that doesn't serve you. You stop looking at what's wrong, and you start looking at what's right, and how you can keep reaching up and getting, like I said, getting better and better. And like I said in the very beginning, greatness is measured by you. And the object is to start looking at the areas in your life that you are already great, and continue to achieve greatness that causes you to feel good. Because it's really all about, like I said, joy, happiness, and the highest vibration in the universe, which is love. And so going back to, another principle is that mental preparation, that mental strength, that creating a habit of pushing past your limits, and realizing that each and every one of us is special. And I didn't even see these. Hey, nice to hear positivity. Yes. But yeah, thank you all for being here. Hi, Lisa. Yes, a clear mind drives massive execution, which equals an abundance of results. Yes, it's a clear mind. It's catching yourself when you start to move in that direction that doesn't serve you. Because how does beating yourself up, how does getting in a negative state serve you? It's draining, it's not supportive. And when we move into questions that bring more joy, that bring more happiness, and bring more relationships of amazing people like the people I have on here right now. I mean, Lisa Patrick, Melody, my girlfriend Melody. Yes, the ego gets in the way. The ego is extremely cunning, and it'll stop you in your tracks if you give it power, if you allow it. And I like to talk to a lot of people about the power of living in today, the power of living in the now, because every moment or every 16 seconds, we're giving a thought and a feeling power. And as 16 seconds upon that, and another 16 seconds upon that, we're growing power in a direction that either serves us or doesn't serve us. And by 60 seconds, because everything's energy, we're pulling into our now experiences once again what we are being, how we are being, who we are. And so, who are you really? If you're to ask yourself down at the core of your being, who am I really outside the judgment of yourself, the judgment of others? Who am I really? Who do I really want to project myself as into the world? And then start applying it in today only, through the moments of today. Because let me tell you something, you're pulling into your experience a constant mirror of yourself. And that part of you is saying to you, hey, you, look at you. This is you. And so much, as I was saying earlier, is unconscious. And because it's unconscious, we don't want to take accountability. We don't want to look at how we are the cause of what is showing up in our experience, in our environment. But there comes a point, I think, in all of our lives where we realize, I want more. I deserve more. And we start to ask questions, once again, whether we're conscious or unconscious. And it's those questions that begins to pull to us the solutions and the answers and the people and the teachers, because what you're seeking is always seeking you. And so I just wanted to take a moment on, hi, Larry. Yes, your competition is in the mirror. Yes, absolutely. You are your own creator. You are the one that you are competing with. And when you stop competing with yourself, guess what? You stop seeing all the things in the world that are being mirrored to you in a way that does not serve you. You start attracting more amazing people. Life begins to show up with ease and grace. And trust me, I know this firsthand, because of a lot of you who don't know my story. And let me just tell you something. The person I am today, based on the person I once was, is a completely different person. I have been married, divorced, drug addicted, bulimic, anorexic, had money, lost money, walked the streets homeless twice with my children, lived with the Italian mafia in Las Vegas, and I've been a pro bodybuilder. I've done things, I've made so many mistakes in my life. I've made dumb choices. But you know what? I stopped telling myself that there was something wrong with me and I was a bad person. I let other people, I let myself stop letting other people tell me who I was. And I started stepping out in confidence. I started stepping out in self love. I started stepping out in realizing that I was unique and special too. and that I had something to share with the world too. And when I talk about intention for myself, my intention is to be a spiritual teacher, to be a transformational speaker, to uplift people, to plant an energy seed in the hearts and the minds of all of you. That hopefully something that I've said will lift you, will cause you to tap in to that greater, grander expression of you, who you are, that gift, because that's my goal. My goal is to travel all over the world and help people of all ages discover their own greatness. But I had to discover it in myself first. I had to overcome the limited thinking and the beating up of Sherry and the judgment of Sherry and the insecurities and self-worth issues of Sherry. And I had to take accountability. I had to learn to love myself right here, right now, in today. I had to let myself come forward as who I truly am. A very over the top, silly, playful child of God, an amazing child of the universe, and that I have the same stuff, and so do all of you. So I hope that some of this resonated with some of you today, because that's what really means everything to me. Is there was something that I said that caused you to do better, will cause you to do better in your life, that causes more greatness in your life, that causes you to set higher and higher intentions. So anyway, go out and make it a great day and be more mindful of what's showing up in your life today, because you have that much power to shift it and reach up to what you really want instead of what you don't want. Have a great day.